I've written a book of sci-fi short stories called Neurotec, and this is one from it. It's called Enlightenment, and it's not that long. It all started when God got bored. Now, this may seem paradoxical because God exists out of time, whereas in our realm, boredom and the slow passing of time are inexorably linked. But despite, or perhaps because of, being the one all-embracing, omnipotent and omniscient, eternal and infinite entity, the supreme being, the source of all life, did experience tedium and decided to alleviate the feeling by creating the gods. These he conceived of as a race of self-determining spirit beings with sentience, desires, will, and individual personalities. He made them in his own image, thereby allowing them independence and creativity with access to abundant energy, and then set them up in a realm operating on a coarser vibratory level than his own. God then sat back and observed their interactions, their foibles, loves and squabbles, their comings and goings and creative efforts, as though watching a never-ending soap opera. And it amused God greatly that one of their favorite pastimes was playing God. They did this by creating highly complex virtual reality games involving finite universes made from a variety of simplistic particles and populated with virtual lesser beings purportedly created in their own image. For fun, they added space and time and death, then gave their virtual creations a form of awareness as a running sick joke. God merely smiled indulgently. Welcome, I'm moderator Deos. This is your first game, I believe. Yes, it is. Right, just relax while I patch you in. There, what can you see? An intensity filled with patterns, spirals. Good. That's the gameplay platform created from low-level energy condensed to space, in turn supporting an infinite variety of physical manifestations. Extraordinary what can be done with a few dozen particles. Space, I'm aware of the concept, but have never come across it before. Something you'll have to get used to in the game. Very different to the way we do things here. In the game, you can no longer will it and be there, or wish for something and it manifests. So how does one function? To achieve a goal, it's necessary to negotiate space from within a biophysical unit. You'll enter as a newborn, and as you grow, you'll have to master the required skills of whatever species you manifest as a member of over a period of time. Time? Yes, a most odd phenomenon we didn't anticipate, but of course is integral to space. There's more to this than I realized. Yes, there is, but you won't be aware of the dimensional limitations in the game reality. Everything you will see normal because that's all you're programmed to know. Now, first, I'm going to send you in on a dummy run. This will give you an idea of how it works, and then you can ask questions before starting the game proper. I'll send you to a system on the outer edge of one of those spiral forms you see. It's a popular venue with many game players, but they don't know they are, of course. And like them, in keeping with the rules, you'll also experience total forgetfulness of this realm, except for a few trace memories. An echo to help you focus. Are you ready? Yes, here we go. Oh, well done. That was fast and clean for a first timer. Just give me a rundown of what happened to you while I make some final checks and adjustments. It was extraordinary. The physicality is so intricate, so finely wrought. How is that done? Well, with a few carefully crafted mathematical formulae, plus a lot of energy. So what did you experience? Well, it was a life in a body with a gender. I was very disorientated at first, but as I grew, I got used to it. It was cold and hot, and I was hungry and tired most of the time, but strong. I was on a planet we called Earth. I was a serf working the land for a lord. Then I died, my body worn out when I was about 40. Oh, sorry, that's 40 orbits of the planet. Yes, I'm aware. Of course, I was forgetting. But space-time is the oddest experience. Death, the fear of death permeates everything. Wasn't all bad though. I enjoyed things like sex, ale, laughter, my children. Summer when I was young. I loved running and climbing and having friends and fun. Then I was forced to labor for my living. Did you have any memories of this existence at all? None. And yet I had emotions and a yearning for something better, a kind of inner homesickness. My mind was uneducated though, so it was hard to think, especially with only rudimentary language. And as I had little or no access to knowledge, there was only a crude, superstitious religion to guide me. Good, good, all very normal. Now I sense you're very ready to start playing. Will it be like that again? Perhaps, but this time you enter the real game randomly through a gender pair conceiving. You could be the progeny of an emperor or a pauper. From there, you could become a farmer, a scientist, a ne'er-do-well, and so on. The varieties are literally infinite. You could be playing on any of a billion planets in the support structure of any of the game's myriad sentient species. Whatever you start from, you're only on level 1 and have many levels to complete in order to finish the game. I understand. Now, you are aware that I can't pull you out of your session, that you're going solo, and the whole point of the game is to find your own way out and back. Yes, I've listened to a few who've played, and you realize there are those stuck on one level, living out the same life over and over, and that we can do nothing for them. Yeah, I understand the risks. Good. Any questions? Yeah, each life is a gameplay, correct. And they are cumulative, leading to higher and higher levels. Indeed, assuming you learn your lessons well. So how do you know you've finished all the levels? What happens? Oh, you'll know, believe me. A kind of epiphany occurs. Everything suddenly falls into place and it hits you. It's all a game. And you are and always have been one with existence. Then at that moment, you revert back to your purely energetic selfhood and travel home unerringly to a highly fated welcome, I might add, and much kudos. I look forward to that. But how do you get this required knowledge? You have to build it from the clues we leave in the game. They appear to get harder to solve as you progress, but, sorry, because you're allowed to retain understanding gained from prior games, albeit in cryptic form, they are always solvable eventually, unless you're stuck, of course. It's amazing how the clues and the knowledge get misinterpreted within the game, then distorted into belief systems such as religions and a whole variety of isms. Dogma, in short, which could get players entrenched deeper and deeper. Basically, you must avoid certainty at all costs. I see. Not only that, but the quality of the lives you lead in terms of bodily, emotional, and mental health, and the nature of the deaths you undergo will depend entirely on the use you make of this acquired knowledge during the game. You will experience joy and suffering, pain and pleasure, everything. But you must break free constantly, starting afresh each time. Letting go, that's the secret. Aren't you giving the game away somewhat? Oh, don't worry. You won't take any of this information with you. You won't even remember this conversation. Nothing at all? Nope. After each life end, you'll feel disoriented, your essence floating in limbo, and that's when you start trying to pull all the clues together until you're suddenly called into the next gameplay and you start all over again. You've played, I assume. many times. I actually created the game. I presented the idea to the overseers and they indulged me, granted me the energy requirement. It's become very popular, I'm gratified to say. I call it Enlightenment, which I thought a very apt name. Ah, I see, enlightenment, as in lightening a load, throwing off burdens. Exactly so, but also in the sense of seeing the light. Now, as I explained, in the game, you'll be experiencing time, whereas in this realm, you'll be back as soon as you've gone, so to speak. Now, are you ready to begin? Yes, I am. Comfortable? Thank you, Deus. Yes. Then off you go. Oh dear, not back yet. That's it, folks.
That was brilliant.
Thank you.
I love that.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not looking at loads of blank screens.
Oh, superb.
Mhm.
Can you say the name of your book again? I'm going to get your book.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, it's called Neurotec, which is there it is. Oh, it's back to front, is it?
No, it's not back to front.
Oh, it is for me.
Great, thank you. My son is a computer programmer, and he always thinks that we are in a simulation. So I want to give that story to him.
Okay.
Well, I
Thank
think
you, Marcus. That was great.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Marcus. It's Andrew.
Yeah, I Andrew.
Can you tell me about your creative process? When you write a story like this one that you just read us, it was delightful. And I love, it reminds me, I used to devour a lot of science fiction as a kid in person because you really can imagine different realities. But when you were writing that, like how many drafts did you go through? How did you come up with the idea? How did that work for you?
Now, that's a really interesting question. I mean, I go back, the very first story I wrote, I actually, I'm going to claim, received, or shall I say, thought of the idea in Latian. But then, this is, and I'm now answering your question, I then discovered that rule about 20% inspiration, 80% perspiration really holds true. Yeah. So, yeah, I get the idea, which kind of just comes to me, but it takes so much time to make it work, to find a way of doing it, you know, a way of expressing the idea. And yeah. So that's all I can say, really. Yeah, I mean, just an idea just comes from nowhere. I've got no idea where the ideas come from. There are about 30 odd stories in the book. Some are quite short, some are quite long, but they always follow that same pattern, you know, 10, 20% inspiration, 80, 90% perspiration, trying to make the thing work. And yeah, and then they're never finished. You know, I go every time I get the manuscript up, I start changing it, rewriting it. You know, and I can't remember who it was. It was someone like Forster, I think, who said, "A book is never finished, merely abandoned." I think that's true of poetry, painting, yeah, everything really.
Definitely true of painting.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
It's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. I'm always wondering when I'm writing, have I reached the end yet? Is this?
Yes. Well, when I do, like most, I have to say, because I can tell you one of my favorite stories, which was told to me by a writer called Matthew Sullivan. He's dead now, but he was quite a well-known Subud writer and in the outer world as well. I find writing it, is kind of like a chore in a way, getting the story down. But as you kind of refine it, the best bit is the going through, the changing the odd word, rephrasing something slightly. And there's this wonderful story, apocryphal story of Oscar Wilde being interviewed. And the journalist said to him, "What did you do this morning, Mr. Wilde?" And Oscar Wilde said, "I put in a comma." And then the journalist said, "Oh, what did you do this afternoon?" He said, "I took it out." And to me, that sums up the art of writing.
All right, everyone. Thank you very, very much for coming along and sharing, and all the presenters. A big round of applause.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.